Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Henry Benjamin, and today I need to tell you about a big issue in our country. As we all know, the United States is often called the land of the free, but with our over 1.9 million people behind bars, the U.S. holds the unfortunate title of having the highest incarceration rate in the world. Even though we make up only 5% of the world population, we account for 20% of the world's prisoners. With this time today, I'll relay some of the root causes of this incarceration epidemic and the costs it imposes on all of us, while hopefully building a base of thought to solve this issue on in each of you. Mass incarceration and its drivers. The roots of mass incarceration stretch back decades, fueled by policies like the war on drugs and mandatory minimum sentencing. These initiatives disproportionately targeted nonviolent offenders, which swelled prison populations. But here's where it gets worse. This system is no longer just about justice, it's about money. The rise of private prisons has turned incarceration into a for-profit industry. Companies running these prisons earn billions by keeping their facilities full and lobby for harsher sentencing laws that ensure steady customers. What does this mean for taxpayers? Billions of dollars are drained annually to fund a system that prioritizes profit over rehabilitation, leaving us all to wonder, is progress being made to make society safer? Secondly, racial disparities. Who pays the price? The costs of mass incarceration aren't equal. Black Americans are incarcerated at nearly 5 times the rate of white Americans, a distinction of how systemic racism fuels this crisis. Take Khalif Browder's story. At just 16 years old, he was sent to Rikers Island for allegedly stealing a backpack. He spent 3 years there, 2 in solitary confinement, without ever being convicted. He was deprived of his civil rights. Why? Because his family couldn't afford the cash bail required for his release. Cases like Khalif's highlight how racial bias and economic inequality intersect to trap people in this system, often before they're even convicted of a crime. Consider this. Rikers profited every day Khalif was locked up, and taxpayers like you and me have funded the broken cash bail system that enabled his detention. It's a chilling example of how profit motives and racial disparities collide in America's justice system. Third, an economic and social cost. The financial toll of incarceration is staggering. Each year, taxpayers spend billions maintaining these prisons, money that could instead fund schools, healthcare, or job training. It'd be better to invest in the communities than the places to lock the communities up. Worse, this economic burden doesn't stop when someone is released. Families and communities bear the long-term burden from lost income to emotional trauma to difficulties finding jobs in the future, which perpetuates cycles of poverty and crime. Mandatory sentencing laws also contribute to this problem. Take the case of people serving life sentences for nonviolent third strikes, like shoplifting or drug possession. These individuals, many of whom pose no real threat to society, cost taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars per year, often for decades. Private prisons, again, are major beneficiaries, as these laws ensure a steady flow of long-term inmates. Failure of rehabilitation. The question we must ask ourselves is, what is the purpose of our justice system? If the goal is rehabilitation, we're failing. Many prisons lack effective education, mental health, and substance abuse programs, resources that could help people reintegrate into society and reduce reoffense rates. Instead, private prisons cut costs on these programs to maximize profits, keeping inmates in a cycle of reoffense. Khalif Browder's case highlights this failure. After his release, the trauma he endured in Rikers left him struggling to rebuild his life. Tragically, he died by suicide in 2015, proving how the lack of rehabilitation and support extends punishment far beyond prison walls. So in conclusion, in the words of Brian Stevenson, the founder of the Equal Justice Initiative, each of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done. Justice shouldn't be measured by the number of people we lock up, but how effectively we address the roots of crime and support second chances. Together, we can create a system that prioritizes fairness, rehabilitation, and dignity.